So the Disaster Recovery International Affairs and Planning Committee meeting of October 22nd come to order. The time is now 1:32. And if everyone could please silence their cell phones or noise-making devices, that will help our cause. Members, in accordance with the Sunshine Law, if you are not in the council chamber, please identify by name who, if anyone, is in the room, vehicle, or workspace with you today. Minors do not need to be identified. Also, please see the last page of the agenda for information on meeting connectivity. My name is Tamara Paulton, and I will be your chair for today's DRIP committee meeting. With us in person, we have Committee Vice Chair Nohe Hodgins. Kia ora.
Kia ora, Chair. Kia ora, everyone.
And we also have Committee Member Tom Cook. Kia ora.
Kia ora, aloha, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. And we also have Committee Member Gabe Johnson. Kia ora.
Kia ora, Chair, council members, community members. There's no testifiers at the Alumni District Office, and I'm alone in my side of my office and ready to work. Mahalo.
Thank you. Council Member Tasha Kama is not here, so she'll be excused. We have Committee Member Alice Lee. Kia ora.
Kia ora kako.
And Councilmember Kiani Rollins Fernandez is excused. She may join us later on. Committee Member Shane Sinensi. Kia ora.
Kia ora, Chair. No testifiers in Hana.
Thank you. And Committee Member Yukile Sugimura said she'll be a little bit late. She's coming from a lunch meeting. This meeting of the Disaster Recovery International Affairs and Planning Committee of the Maui County Council is located on the traditional Aina of Kanaka Oiwi, who never ceded their sovereignty to the United States. We recognize that Her Majesty Queen Liliuokalani yielded the Hawaiian Kingdom to the U.S. in duress under threat of violence to avoid the bloodshed of her people. We further recognize that Hawaii remains an illegally occupied nation state by the United States, as documented in a 2021 scholarly article for the National Lawyers Guild Review by Andrew Reed, adjunct professor of law at the University of Denver Sturm College of Law. Generations of Kanaka Maoli and their knowledge systems have sustainably cared for Hawaii and continue to do so. We are grateful to occupy this space and learn the ways in which we can contribute. As a committee, we seek to support the varied strategies that the indigenous peoples of Hawaii are using to protect their land and their communities, and commit to dedicating time and resources to working in solidarity. From the administration, our resources that we have with us today, Maui Emergency Management Agency Administrator, Chief Amos Lonokailua Hewitt, Grant Specialist from Maui Emergency Management Agency, Christopher Wegner, and Deputy Corp Counsel Mike Hopper. Our committee staff today, we have Senior Committee Secretary Yvette Boutillier, Legislative Analysts Jarrett Pasquale and Keone Hurdle, Legislative Attorney Carla Nakata, and Assistant Clerk Jean Pokipala. We have one item on today's agenda, DRIP 18, Resolution 25-174, 2025, update to the County of Maui Hazard Mitigation Plan. We will be taking testimony after our opening presentation. So this item is somewhat time sensitive. On the gavel in, our secretary distributed some questions and answers that this committee sent to MEMA, so you have that. And it's time sensitive because the hazard mitigation plan must be updated every 5 years, and there's things that deal with national flood insurance and all sorts of stuff. So that's why it's scheduled for this meeting. The last update took effect on November 19th, 2020, and the new update must be adopted by November 19th, 2025 to keep disaster funding eligibility intact. So at this time, I'd like to hand it over to our MEMA staff for their opening presentation. Then we'll open it up for public testimony and then discussion and questions. So we're queuing up the presentation right this moment, and they'll be taking it away.
Hello, Mike Halco, Chair
Aloha.
and Council members, members of the DRIP Committee. I'm Mr. Nukailo Hewitt with the Maui Emergency Management Agency, and to my left is my Staff Specialist for Hazard Mitigation. I am pleased to update the room on Hazard Mitigation Plan, update 2025 to 2030. The plan represents the work of many agencies, partners, and community coming together to reduce long-term disaster risk. FEMA requires each county to maintain a current hazard mitigation plan. To qualify for mitigation grant funding, ours also helps guide local resiliency investments. This plan was developed through a highly collaborative process across county, state, and federal partners and community organizations. Public input was integral throughout. Every meeting was open and publicly promoted. So we began in December 2024 and held 4 virtual meetings through April 2025. These meetings covered hazard identification, county capabilities, and preliminary risk ranking. All sessions were public, posted on MEMA's website to ensure transparency and participation. We conducted 3 public meetings in Wailuku, Kihei, and Pukalani. These sessions allowed residents to ask questions, provide input, and understand how mitigation planning affects their communities. Public participation also supports our community community rating system points, which reduces flood insurance premiums for our residents. Over 25 organizations participated, from nonprofits and utilities to state departments and community groups. Their expertise shaped the plan from wildfire mitigation to health and infrastructural resilience. The HMP is not a standalone document. It aligns with other county and state plans, from our general plan and climate action plan to the long-term recovery plan. This ensures consistency across land use, infrastructure, and environmental policy. We also reviewed sector-specific plans like water use and development and the agricultural strategic plan to ensure mitigation actions support long-term priorities. We conducted 3 surveys for the public, business, and key stakeholders. The response helped identify perceived risk, capability gaps, and priorities across different sectors. Our results are available in the plan appendices. After the draft was completed, MEMA opened a 14-day public comment period from April 23rd to May 8th. We received 22 comments, all reviewed and either integrated or responded to directly. We announced the comment period through press releases, social media, and 2 public meetings. The final plan reflects FEMA's requirements and our community's voice. We prioritize natural hazards with the greatest risk to people, infrastructure, and our economy. We integrated key lessons from the 2023 Maui wildfires to strengthen recovery and prevention strategies. Some of the updates, we removed outdated hazards such as health risk, hazardous materials, and extreme heat and cold. We added a new analysis for climate change impacts for each hazard, enhanced capability assessment chapter recognizing community and agency resources, include best practices for wildfire recovery and post-fire mitigation. This plan represents a forward-looking, climate-improved approach to resilience. This plan follows FEMA's framework, from introduction and county profile through hazard analysis and mitigation strategy and maintenance. Each chapter builds towards actionable mitigation strategies. The structure ensures clear guidance for implementation and future updates. The appendices provides a full transparency, including outreach materials, maps, surveys, and the mitigation catalog. Once County Council adopts the plan, we'll submit to FEMA for final approval. All supporting data, public input, and resolutions are captured here. Mahalo for your time and support in moving this plan forward. Once approved by the county and FEMA, this plan will unlock access to federal mitigation funding and guide resilience investments for the next 5 years. Mahalo.
Thank you. At this time, we'll move on to public testimony. Has anybody signed up to give public testimony?
Chair, no one has signed up to testify. We can do a last call.
Please do, thank
Okay.
you.
If there's anybody in the chamber on Teams who would like to testify, please come up to the podium or raise your hand on Teams. This is the final countdown. The call is 3, 2, 1. Chair seeing none, no one has indicated that they wish to testify.
Members, any objection to closing public testimony and accepting written testimony into the record? Okay. So I will now close public testimony. I would like to open the floor for discussion, and we can go for as long as you want, as many rounds as you want. Chief Lono Kailua Hewitt said his afternoon is completely cleared up and he's anxious to answer each and every single one of your questions till 4:30 if need be, but we'll see how efficient we are. So there won't be any timing, but just try and police yourselves not to be hogs. And we can go by raise of hand who wants to go first of any questions. You all should have received the questions the committee asked MEMA and the answers that they have provided. They're also uploaded on Granicus with a signed, also, I didn't print out, but there is also a signed version and an ASF on Granicus. So we'll be working off of the ASF. Committee Vice Chair Uu Hodgins.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for being here with us, Mima. So I do see that this plan expires November 19th, 2025, and we need it to pass before then for flood insurance, for insurance purposes. Can you explain that to me? And then my second follow-up question is, are we on time to do so?
So I'll let Chris talk about the flood insurance piece, but the adoption of the hazard mitigation plan by November 19th is necessary to access the hazard mitigation grant program or those hazard mitigation type funding. But on the flood insurance piece, I'll let him speak.
Yeah, so the recertification for the community rating system, which is conducted annually, it essentially is done to provide a score. Our county score is 7, and that provides a certain discount for those folks who sign up with the National Flood Insurance Program through FEMA.
What do you mean by when you say our county score is 7?
So it's based on a variety of flood mitigation activities and tasks, built environment, components that are in place. To what degree is the county protecting itself, its residents, its businesses, its infrastructure, its critical facilities from floods?
And 7 is on a scale of what? 1 to 10? 1 to 20?
I believe it's 1 to 10, and compared to the national average, we have a pretty good score. So
Okay.
6 would be the next step up. We'd get a higher discount.
Oh,
and
the
we're,
lower we go, the better it is.
yeah, correct.
Okay. And what is the national average, did you say?
I don't recall what the national average is. It's like an 8 or 9, and some counties don't even participate in this.
Got it. Okay. I don't know if anybody else has any questions. I'll hold for now. I do have more, but I don't want to take up more time.
Thank you for policing yourself. Committee Member Cook, your opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you both for being here. I want to follow up on that flood mitigation and score. does the county, so for my understanding, basically people who are getting flood insurance can get a better rate if the county is in compliance and has a good score. But the county doesn't necessarily get any money or anything from it.
That is correct.
Does, if, like South Maui, in my district where we have flooding, and especially in North Kihei, if the county does flood mitigation with NRCS and other people and substantively can demonstrate that it has reduced flooding, would that add to the score?
I believe so. At an individual or household parcel level, I think everything matters in that case.
Okay.
I think in this county, the next step up would be raising up homes, most likely right on the
Yeah,
coastline.
doing the flood mitigation, so.
Correct.
Is there anything we can do to get money, credit, something from FEMA or the county for being, or the government for being proactive and improving our flood hazards?
That would have to be answered by the county's floodplain manager, Barry, over in Public Works. She would probably know more about how we get our score from a 7 to a 6 and therefore improve our flood mitigation and therefore our discount on insurance.
Thank you, Chair. I'll let that one go.
Yeah, sorry, we didn't invite the Public Works floodplain person. But to follow up on Committee Member Hodgins' question, it's a resolution, so I believe it only takes one reading, and we're potentially scheduled for November 7th council meeting. So we hope to be passing this plan and handing it off to FEMA before November 19th. Sorry, delayed response. Anyone else online? Oh, Member Sinensi, and then Member Johnson.
Thank you, Chair. I didn't have any questions, but I did want to mahalo to all the stakeholders that came out, participated in the community meetings, and helped with the surveys to help form the report. So mahalo for that. Also, just a general mahalo, Administrator Hewitt, for always working with the East Maui community. I think our community is much more resilient with the recent funding for the Resiliency Hub and the acquisition of the aggregation parcel. So I think, working with all the rural communities like East Maui has really helped, get us kind of address some of our issues. So I just want to thank you for that. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Member Johnson?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I also want to thank Chief Lono Kailua Hewitt as well and his team for doing this. I'm very curious, this for the Maui Hazard Mitigation Plan. Do we have a countywide or is it island specific for the other islands?
Thank you for that question. This hazard mitigation plan is for the entire county, so all 4 islands.
Oh, okay. All right, but you guys didn't do any outreach on the outer islands?
Are you speaking about the public meetings or
Right,
the surveys?
the public meetings that I noticed was only held on Maui Island. Am I correct in saying that?
Yes, that is correct. All public meetings were on the island of Maui.
Okay. I don't know anybody from Lanai or Molokai who made it to any of those. Maybe you guys correct me, but I don't know my community if they made it or not. But maybe moving forward, that's something to consider. We always want to have everybody included. And it sounds like a lot of this is going to help with the flood insurance, which I heard has been kind of an issue for many folks. When I see this type of hazard mitigation, I also am looking at it through the lens of a farmer, and I'm curious. I know for a farmer who is trying to get crop insurance, maybe this could help them with, or any type of insurance. So farmers are always asked for all kinds of insurance, crop insurance, liability insurance. anything like that, I wonder if this plan could help farmers get other types of insurance or it affects it in any way. Just simply because you guys brought up flood insurance, I'm curious if that affects other types.
Great question, council member. I don't know offhand if the CRS rating score impact on national flood insurance also has any sort of nexus with any other insurance, and especially farmers, but it's something I can look into and follow up on and get back to you.
Okay, well, I appreciate that. Okay, those are my questions for now. I really appreciate you guys' time.
Thank you, Member Johnson. At this time, I'd like to welcome Council Member Yukile Sugimura to the meeting. We left the questions and answers the committee left to Mima on your desk, so you should have that. It's also posted on Granicus along with the amendment summary form and signed version, or if we didn't, our secretary is coming with it.
Thank you. Thank you.
And we're going through just the first round of questions. Yourself and Member Lee are the only ones besides me who hasn't asked questions yet. And there's no hard time frame. It's just police yourself so that we don't have any hogs here. Member Lee.
Thank you. Okay, I just wanted to ask the administrator, do you have people writing grants for you? Like to implement
do.
the mitigation plan and so forth?
So I do. I have one grants person handling AMPG, Homeland Security, and what we grant out from our department.
Or what you
Chris.
grant out, not for what you use
So
to
EMPG
spend?
is what comes in, and Homeland Security grant comes in. That grant person also addresses what goes out. Chris is actually the hazard mitigation grant specialist. With the new kind of effort related to hazard mitigation, we have identified that we're going to need more help from grant specialists to address what we've been doing out in like Ukumehame and many other properties that need to take wildfire risk reduction efforts and hazard mitigation efforts. So to answer your question, we do have 2 grant specialists. That's being taxed, and we're gonna.
Yeah, if you need more, let us know, because, that's an important program for all of the departments, but you folks have to let us know.
I will be coming to ask for
Okay.
for sure.
Good, thank you.
Yeah.
Member Sugimura, do you have any questions? It was a 700-page document almost, so I understand, it's difficult.
I will wait for next round. I can read
Okay.
this.
For my opportunity, in the mitigation strategies, as far as kind of like public-private partnerships, what kind of things are you folks intending to pursue?
Well, it comes to my mind, we just got out of a meeting with Kamehameha Schools Land Management Division or Section. The meeting right before that was with the Maui Wildfire Coordinating Group, which includes, county, state, and federal partners related to wildfire. And so those conversations on how we manage, to that point, the wildfire risk, as well as in whether it's grazing or vegetation or mechanical removal, we're engaging with all of our partners in that way regularly to kind of find out how we help each other to reduce risk. We also, through those conversations, talk about access to private roads through gates for evacuations, as well as sites for temporary evacuation points and staging areas for operational coordination. That comes to my mind just on our last 2 meetings before we got here.
You know, in both 2018 and 2023 fires for West Maui, the hotel resort areas played big parts in not only taking care of their own guests, but a lot of times taking care of all their workers as well. And we've put community resilience hubs under MEMA for the consistency. Is there any kind of focus on like more corporate resilience hubs? Like, I mean, that's kind of where I see hotels at. Like, they're not necessarily community, but they have the tools and resources to be like a resilience hub. And to me, that's one of the big draws of resort areas is whereas short-term rentals, you find their guests showing up at the community hub, the hotels are able to take in some of the community. And I was wondering if that's part of your mitigation strategy is developing a stronger relationship with our resort areas that have, I guess, through the 2023 fires especially, taken in members of our community.
That's a great question and point. I think two initiatives that we have is the establishing a community network and a business network. And to your point, it's a business network. And we've been having numerous meetings with various businesses, both small and large, both businesses that may need reimbursement types of opportunities and larger businesses that don't, that they have funding specifically to support disasters at the county and state level. We've had conversations. The idea is to definitely build out a network, a business network, and find a way that that business network meets and organizes and will support in disaster. Honestly, it's been challenging for us to find a pathway of organizing that business network, simply because it just requires a lot of work and a lot of maintenance. And we've been able to finally fill our positions, which gives me the opportunity to start looking more deeply into the business network and see how that could be organized. But it's definitely part of what we're trying to do. I think that's a resources that definitely need to be tapped into, openly want to support. It is the resources that is necessary for us to overcome. And we've seen that in the Lahaina fires. And so how do I organize that, bring them all in? How do we exercise? How do we understand capabilities and limitations? How do we, call on that in real world? Those are the things we're definitely working on.
Yeah, I did recently speak with Maui Hotel and Lodging Association, and they seemed enthused about the idea. So maybe that's a possible way forward. And the only other thing I was thinking about, like internally with the county, like if you've seen all of our, not all, but majority of our community parks in West Maui ended up kind of being community resilience hubs. And so if we're thinking about when and where, if any kind of disaster occurs, how can the county quickly pivot? And when we went to the conferences, they said, some counties, they have predetermined roles for people. Like if this happens, everybody in this department goes here and we're gonna do this or things like that. So I guess, we have the community part that showed up and showed what they could do. And now internally, how can we get more efficient? Business-wise, how can we get more efficient? But I'll turn it over. Member Sugimura, did you want to go now or you wanted to wait a little bit longer? Okay. Committee Vice Chair Hodgins, followed by Committee Member Johnson.
Thank you, Chair. So I know that this hazard mitigation plan is 684 pages. And so I don't expect you to know this answer. This plan encompasses way more than I thought it would. Like right now I'm looking at page 104, 3.9.2, which is new development. and this is more of a clarifying question, but it says in the Paia Haiku area that we have had 358 new developments. And I'm assuming that these are probably on older structures that had to break down and build back up. And then for Makua, Pukalani, and Kula, 624. I have not noticed 800 new homes, at least in those smart areas, like probably zero in Paia. Do you know, could you clarify that, or you don't have to? Because that's just curious to me.
Well, I can definitely go investigate where that exact information came from and get it back
I
to
would
you.
love to see the details
Yeah.
on that.
No problem. No problem.
Thank you. Another one of my questions is, for Paia, we have a fire concern, and it is located usually in one place. And I know Chair Lee has another place that's notorious for fires as well in her area. And on page 100, we can see, which I find very interesting, this graph. The residential count for or building count for residents and commercial and industrial, and how much it would cost to rebuild, which is pretty astronomical, scary numbers. So what are we doing? And I know we've met before, but maybe for the rest of the people, what are we doing to ensure that at least our county properties are being managed well, and we're not going to incur this cost to rebuild when we're looking at Paia for just residential structures alone at like $1 billion, $1.8 billion. And Wailuku at nearly 7.5 billion, knowing that we have kind of problem areas.
Thank you for the question. So MEMA has been tasked with the wildfire risk reduction program, which we created based on the understood hazards, wildfire hazards that are caused in upwind, a lot of upwind communities like you're speaking to. Ukumehame is one of our projects that we have, I think we're like 90-something% complete with. Lots of really great things that came out of that effort, but and I can share that with you later. But we basically are assigned at this point to address wildfire risk. And that wildfire risk will obviously come with not only invasive fuels that will spread rapidly, but the location of that threat and the occurrence of fire. And so to these communities that we are addressing, there's a record and history, and they become priority for MEMA to identify and to point out and to act upon. And so that's what we'll do. There's ones that we know are on the top of the list because there's a lot of fires there, and we gotta do something now. And I am 100% in with that. We do have a meeting with the administration this week to kind of clarify our steps moving forward, but we know where our risks are, at least the primary ones, and we know we need to act, and we will do our best to act quickly and remove those risks.
Thank you. I appreciate that answer. I have a clarifying question, I guess, and I don't know if this is for like you or even Corp Counsel, but I can think of 3 right now, primary areas that have a lot of risk concern, wildfire risk. 2 are on county properties, and 1 is private, the one in Chair Lee's district. What is the difference on how do we handle the wildfire risks that are on county property, and then how do we handle it on private property?
That's a good question. So all public property, MEMA will be the lead agency. On private property, the fire department is the lead agency. The fire department has just been offered, the county has been awarded hazard mitigation post-fire money, $2.7 and $3.3 million that the fire department will use to cut fuel breaks around wildland urban interface areas. Those lands are all private. And then MEMA is looking at all the public lands, the county lands specifically with wildfire risk first, and we'll kind of go down the list to, take action. Of course, that comes with, it's a new initiative. It requires resources to manage, and currently MEMA is holding it. And does that answer your question?
It does. I can appreciate that guidance. Thank you. Thank you, Chair. I'll hold.
Member Johnson, followed by Member Lee.
Thank you, Chair. In one of the letters, you responded to the committee, the summary of significant updates, basically what you took out. And one was the extreme heat and cold were removed as temperature in county does not reach significant impact to health and infrastructure. And recently we had Dr. Chip come into my ADEPT committee talk about climate change. And he shared some data that said since 1950, Hawaii's temperature increased by 3% since 1950. So it's been getting hotter. And he also mentioned that extreme heat affects Kupuna and low income more than the rest of the folks. So I'm curious of why we would, because the solutions to my mind is more trees, and that takes 10, 20 years to actually get the benefits of shade and cooling down our towns. Why would that not be important to this plan?
So that decision, and there were a few different terms that were taken out compared to the 2020. The hazard mitigation working group that was formed to develop this had made that decision that the extremes, cold and heat, didn't apply to the county of Maui at this time. It is, those two variables are in the state's hazard mitigation plan. So there are analyses related to that and recommendations based off those data that were collected. But it's certainly something that we, looking forward to the next plan and the next iteration, will consider in the planning phases.
Well, I would say that I don't really agree with that. You know, right now we're trying to find ways to bring back the Naulu Cloud Bridge and, make it rain more and not deal with these droughts. We're in phase 3 of our water shortage up country. I can't imagine this being taken out when it's only been getting worse and worse. The droughts have been getting longer, and the effects of these droughts have been getting worse and worse just because it's not like immediately an effect, I think it's not good proper planning to plan ahead for, the climate change. And as you know, heat rises. So if our islands get hotter, the clouds rise and therefore no fog drip. That's a big problem for our surface water. And we already know that we've got big problems. So I just I'm really curious, so, why it would be taken out, but you mentioned that it's in the state plan. Okay, that's fine, but I still think, I would disagree with that we should have it in our local plan. And I also, I think my Lanai community as well, I'm not going to speak for Molokai, but they would have probably liked to have some outreach on their islands, on Lanai. I could say that we would definitely like that. So in the future, please consider coming and having outreach done in person on Lanai and probably Molokai as well.
I'll just quickly address that. You're absolutely right with drought. Drought is an effect modifier on all the hazards that we're battling against: wildfire, flooding. It creates a cycle that this county is very much struggling to get out of. There are signs of desertification in different parts of the island. I've had conversations with the floodplain manager and Minnie about that. You're absolutely right. This needs to be incorporated in not only our analysis and understanding of these impacts, but how that impacts planning and where we invest in that planning.
Right. The planning, as you know, it takes time. And if we act now, we have some time, but if we wait for it to become a problem, then we have no time. And it's like, they're all connected, just like you mentioned. They're all, all of these things are interconnected. So I just think really, really good proper planning we should definitely consider extreme heat being on the table, especially nowadays. But I understand your response. If you want to add anything else, I'm fine with it. But thank you so much, Chair.
I just wanted to add something really quick. So, the strategies that are captured here, captured by the collective community, that doesn't mean that that's all the work that is being done related to mitigation. I mean, when I look at, wildfire risk reduction planning under MEMA, that's not reflected here in the strategic plan. Community resiliency hubs and our work to build a business network and updating our points of distribution plan that would support our response and recovery related to mitigation as well is not reflected in this plan. So it's not an end-all document. It captures strategies that were communicated by the community that we will use a reference to and try and focus efforts on, but it does not lock us to these strategies alone.
So if I could just follow up on that, a lot of times these plans unlock the doors to funding, federal funding specifically. If that's not in the plan, does that not unlock those funds if there are funds available? That's kind of a concern I have, because usually we look at these plans and then get money. But
Before you answer, Mr. Wigner, I'm not sure if you're also able to say in our conversation about certain terminology under this federal government that they did not want to be included in the hazard mitigation plan. So the committee understands the federal constraints that we're up against, in addition to your response to Member Johnson.
Yes, Chair. To address what you're saying, Chair, FEMA guideline now would prefer counties and mandate counties to leave any mention of climate change out of all of our analyses and policies going forward. For this iteration,
plot thickens.
Yeah, the 2025, we, of course, had climate change in our, data collection, analyses, and our results. And so that's allowed to stay in for this iteration. But going forward, all HMPs and all hazard mitigation grants will not include or consider anything related to climate change. And there are certain social vulnerability variables that will also be taken out, which has a severe impact on the cost-benefit analysis that you have to conduct for these sorts of grants.
Well, that's very disappointing. So it sounds like it falls upon us, right?
Yes.
Because if Big Brother's not coming, if the feds ain't coming with their big checkbooks, then it comes on us and our local taxpayers and our local administration and our local county, county council. I mean, what are we going to do about this, folks? It's something that makes me really not sleep good at night, because that's like pulling the rug out from under any kind of things we had plans to do. And now it's going to fall on us. And those are big numbers, big fundings that we would lose out on. And we're going to turn to the taxpayer, local taxpayer. And okay, not very fiscally smart for the feds to do that to us, or just morally smart. But that's my soapbox. Thank you, guys.
Yep. And Councilmember John, to address what you were saying before, the HMP is a living document. So we can make amendments to the document as long as they are considered minor. We can even add additional strategies. So if we have a grant that we'd like to submit and there is no language addressing that specific activity, we can make an amendment and post it on our website, and then it becomes considered part of the living document, and therefore we become eligible for a grant related to that activity or technology.
Well, if we got to avoid the term climate change, we just say we live in a tropical place and it gets hot in the tropics. Put some trees up. But I get it. I don't know how the time. I know you guys have a tough job. Thank you, Chair.
And just to remind folks, the next iteration will be in 2030, so it may be a different federal climate by then as well. So
And physical climate as well.
yes, all of the climates. Member Lee?
Administrator, are you the director or what's your title?
Administrator.
Administrator Hewitt. I was just wondering, in order to leverage your funds, do you also work with, let's say, HECO? HECO with regard to, prevention of wildfires and as well as climate change, issues, because of what happened in Lahaina, I know they've invested millions upon millions of dollars in sophisticated cameras and other devices to help detect various types of crises. So besides them, you also have probably the highways department, state highways. I know that they have also invested into sophisticated devices. So, if everybody pool their efforts together and us taking advantage of the bigger agencies that have more money to put money, to invest into these types of equipment, I'm sure they'll be happy to share either their knowledge or their technology, actual devices with us so that we don't have to carry the whole burden of buying things only for our use. Have you worked with other groups in order to acquire more knowledge and equipment for our purposes?
Yeah, so HECO is a critical partner with MEMA, and we're connected all the time. For a hazard mitigation project out at Ukumehame, we're part of the planning process because they do have power lines that run through that particular property or adjacent to it. We are connected to their MESOS and Alert Wet system, which is their weather stations, and the cameras. We have access like the public does. And they're a partner that comes into the EOC all the time. And we always do hot washes after every PSPS kind of integration or activation. So we do use all of their technology. With HDOT, same thing. We use their highway cameras. They respond to the EOC. And that was the last tsunami. We called upon the use of their cameras that we call those folks inside. So, whoever has resources that we can use, all of these folks all want to be a part of protecting this community. And so we all call them in. We definitely leverage each other's resources to overcome what we face.
Thank you, and it's good to know. I'm really glad you have that collaboration already set up, because I think perhaps we could do a little bit more in prevention. I mean, for instance, whether it's Paia or Pi'ihana, those are the hot spots. So if any place is going to expand or blow up, it's probably going to be there because it happens on a regular basis, yeah? And so, a wildfire could destroy Happy Valley and Hawaiian Homes, It won't take much. But that's why I'm saying if we can all put a little bit more effort into prevention, and even the Holomua Road, could destroy Paia town. So these are, it's not far-fetched. And so that's why I'm hoping that as you collaborate and pull your resources together, you start identifying, potential areas to keep an extra eye on. Do you do that?
Yeah, so, I think a land management function of the county has, related to wildfire risk and risk reduction, is new or non-existent. This administration, with their tasking us to address it, kind of proves and confirms that it is a priority of this mayor administration, and we are actively removing those hazards. There's a lot to do. Lots of the Ukumehame project was over $1 million to move, and that's being funded by supported by state and federal resources, because we had an electric battery major electric battery hazard that we weren't expecting going into that. And we have this unprecedented project going on right now that identifies electric battery neutralization and proper disposal that will affect the entire globe. Maui is leading the process in neutralizing batteries, and that was born after the wildfires. It's actually called the Maui Method, created by, birthed by a retired firefighter from the Maui Fire Department, working with the EPA, and currently helping us with that project. All of our county, state, and federal partners are actively in Ukumehame, utilizing the process, destroying, neutralizing, and disposing of hundreds of batteries.
Amos, sometimes you have to tell us more of those stories. Honestly, I mean, we can sit here and get chicken skin listening to you, but if you don't tell us, we don't know, you know? Thank you.
You're welcome.
Member Sugimura?
Yeah, I wanted to listen. I have this, because of the last tsunami and then working with Amos and his crew and coming to Kula and understanding what you're doing at Ukumehame and the land management, which you just mentioned, I realized that MEMA is no longer the MEMA that I know of when I first got elected to this office. You have expanded. And I really, really appreciate what you did for Kula, you know, after that tsunami and the scare and what, you know, you listened to the many stories. And then you came to Kula Community Association meeting, the general membership meeting. And I think that the residents who were there, which was a lot, were kind of in awe because I believe that most of us have an old, like me, you know, old understanding of what MEMA does. But you have taken on a new role. And you have, in my experience, reached out to the community through that meeting, but also individually where you put together meeting with the large landowners. And we have a lot, right? We have the ranches and the farms and whatever. And that whole outreach that you did, I thought, okay, this is a new chapter. It's a new evolution. And to approve this resolution, which we need to do to approve your plan, I wonder if it's enough, because to me, you've added more for hazard mitigation and planning and prevention. So is it enough? I mean, based upon just the evolution of what I've seen you do with the office.
Regarding resources and funding, no, it's not enough. We're justifying increased budget proposal for all of you. What I also wanted to say too, related to hazard mitigation and related to educating the public, because I think that's one of the major gaps in MEMA. Currently, there's a lot of new tools, a lot of capabilities, some change in perspective, and we are actually going through an interview of our public affairs officer that we've been waiting for over a year, and that we're finally interviewing for that position. That position will take us into all of your districts. It will take us intimately looking at every aspect of your threat in each district and every critical facility and every vulnerability, and be able to educate the public on what it is and identify what we can do about it. Inevitably, there'll be a gap between what we can do now and what we may be able to do later, but between the community and MEMA and where the county, we're going to have to identify the gap, because inevitably there'll be a gap. But in that gap, when we look at the gap together, we can hopefully close the gap with just partnerships and understanding. And that's a critical initiative that I wanted to start a long time ago, because I realized that this is a new day and a community requires more information and more education on what we're actually doing.
Good job. Thank you.
And Member Sugimura, I'm not sure if you noticed, but the last update was November 19th, 2020. And so we need to pass this update by November 19th, 2025 in order to keep disaster funding eligibility intact. So that's why we're hearing it today. Hopefully it is a resolution which requires one reading, so it'll be on the November 7th and we'll make the deadline.
I saw that.
Okay. And I see Member Rollins Fernandez has joined the meeting, although her camera is not on. If she would like to ask any question about the hazard mitigation plan to our resources or anything. Oh, and kia ora, if you're by yourself or not.
Kia ora, Chair, aloha, everyone. Kalamai for my tardiness. I am alone in my vehicle, and I currently have no questions at the moment. Mahalo, Chair.
Member Cook, thank you.
Thank you, Chair. So in their discussions, did the Haulikoa on the sides of the road come up? That, to me, that seems with all the dry seed pods and the challenge is it's everywhere. And some of them are 20 feet tall. Is that something that money that the fire department, or that the $2 million or whatever that quote amount was, could be used for land clearing, or is that only for when there's a complaint? How does that work? I don't know, just when I'm driving around, the Haulikoa looks like a hazard because of if it was wind and embers and like that.
Yeah, 100%. Every time I drive up Halakalo Highway, I see all the Haulikoa, and luckily there's farming there and the hazard is minimized. But 100% Haulikoa all over the place, all over the highways. It'll jump the roads, quarter mile, half mile, and be a problem, I understand. Related to the Maui Fire Department's fuel break program and what that HMGP post-fire grant is for, they had identified 100 projects. I think that those 100 projects make up 6,000 parcels, to my knowledge. Those 100 projects are wildland urban interface. They basically identified 100 areas that need to be cleared. Inevitably, they're going to be removing Haulikoa to some degree. I know a lot of the Haulikoa is along the highways, and I'm not sure what the entire 100 projects look like. I did look at them, and when I perused over them, I'm like, yeah, they're all really good areas that the fire department has identified, and we're going to get that started real soon.
Stuff was real handy when I used to have livestock and I go cut, but we don't have enough people doing that anymore. Mm-hmm. So I know in Kihei, along the Pi'ilani Highway, North Kihei Road, going out, where it's even, on the Malka side of the road. But anyway, thanks.
Any more questions from the members? Member Johnson, followed by Member Sinensi. You're muted, Member Johnson.
Thank you, Chair. I was lowering my hand and I thought that did it. I'm going through the maps, section 14.5. It looks like a big error because the map that I'm looking at says, it looks like South Maui, but it's labeled Wailuku and Makawao. And either way, those towns are not right next to each other, so there's something wrong with that map. I don't know, I know it's a big document, but it's on 14.5. It's the tsunami hazard, and that's another thing, it's a tsunami hazard map, and definitely Makawao, if Makawao has a tsunami, we're in big trouble. So maybe take a look at that before the resolution gets all said and done, I don't know.
So, Member Johnson, our committee staff identified a number of errors, kind of like that one. And so in the amendment summary form, we have inserted a whereas clause acknowledging that the council has insufficient time to review and identify all technical corrections needed to the County of Maui 2025 Hazard Mitigation Plan. And that would be kind of a non-substantive revision for clarity, consistency, style correction. And I think, as Mr. Wegner said, those kind of correction of error and non-substantive can be updated after it goes to FEMA for review. Is that your understanding, Administrator Hewitt?
Yes, that is. And I just want to apologize to all of you that those kinds of errors are, in my mind, unacceptable, but we are committed to resolving all of that and making sure that this document is absolutely accurate moving forward.
Okay, I didn't, thanks for clarifying that. I just want to make sure it's noted, and thank you, Councilmember Paulton, for noting that.
Yeah, okay. Member Sinensi?
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to address the FEMA disaster declarations. I know Chair mentioned, about, the politics in Washington right now and possibly changing in the next couple of years. But on page 126, do we address, should we have some shortfalls from the federal government funding for emergencies? It also lists Hawaii Governor's emergency proclamations too. I'm sure we'll get some state. But just in case we, have larger disasters that need additional funding.
So I would say to that is a lot of the maybe the perspective of the federal government, the thresholds have all changed. There's a lot of uncertainty about what that means, but I can tell you with the public assistance program, for instance, there's all the thresholds as far as when the federal government will come in and support the county has changed. The thresholds are much higher than they are before. There are changes in what is acceptable and what is not acceptable. There's delays in when those funding is available. And the short story to that is I expect that moving forward, and we have to overcome it in some way.
Right. Okay, thanks for that, Administrator. And then other question was the last tsunami warning. We did see some of the emergency and the evacuation and how people were reacting to the tsunami warning. For us in East Maui, we have a couple of small communities that lie along the shoreline, like Ke'anai, Hamoa, Nahiku, and so I think one of the issues was how do we get from the community, how do we get the word out for some of the rural communities, and I know we do have our liaison in East Maui, but our HANA emergency is also working on it too. And the other thing was I guess agreements with private owners. The ranch allowed both residents and visitors to go through the ranch and then up to higher ground. But are those types of agreements need to be with our local nonprofits or something that the department want to kind of initiate?
So I'll start with the behavior of the public related to the tsunami. And I agree. I think the traffic situation, evacuation effort was more complex and more difficult because of the way we reacted to it. And I think the solution is education. There are tools that we offer in Genesis Protect that provide some of that solution. There's a tsunami inundation map that's attached to all the zones that are in the inundation zone. But not everybody has Genesis Protect, and not everybody knows that the link is there. So there's an education piece that has to take place. Like I said, that's with our public affairs officer. Once that person comes in, that is what that person will be doing, and will engage the public, hopefully in a productive and intimate and effective way. At least I envision it to be. To East Maui specifically, there's a lot to do. One of the staff specialists are really trying to guide 4 large programs, which is preparedness, response, recovery, and mitigation. And that one person is looking at all of the programs in that area. Though that area is isolated and smaller in nature, it still requires a lot of work. And we're trying to support those staff specialists in doing good work. In East Maui, there's a lot of really good operational folks that could be a part of East Maui's maybe response network. We're trying to figure out how we organize. Some of those folks are Reserve Corps. We would look to employ them through our Reserve Corps program, which is what we're always also working on. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, and I just wanted to add, our office is always open to helping to, initiate the community getting together. I must say that the tsunami inundation map was very helpful. It told us the people that weren't affected by the evacuation, those that was in the pink section, those were the immediate people that had to evacuate. So thank you for that. Thank you, Chair.
Anyone further questions? Committee Vice Chair Hodgins?
Thank you, Chair. This may be one of my last few questions. I don't know yet. On page 411, there's a breakdown in the buildings in the wildfire risk hazard area by occupancy class, and it goes to define residential, commercial, industrial, and other, which is usually government places. We have, at least in Paia Town, or Paia and Haiku rather, low wildfire hazard risk areas, moderate, and none in high. I would agree that Paia and Haiku could have a low wildfire risk hazard if we maintain better our county lands, but right now I would disagree with that classification. Probably same for Wailuku and Kahalui's Bunch Stop as well. But I'm wondering if you could tell me where the line was drawn to separate the 3,156 structures from the 649 structures in low wildfire risk hazard areas and moderate risk hazard. Or rather, I guess that could be the same for all, but at least for Paia Town, I'm asking.
So I can find out the exact rationale behind the line. I think with wildfire, they're identifying risk based on topography, fuels, drought conditions, typical wind speeds, and history. And based on the history, it should be high. And I agree it should be a high risk. What they don't include, which is a part of our risk, wildfire risk reduction program, is ignition management. And so we have an ignition concern versus a vegetation concern potentially, or a drought concern potentially. But in our program, it's an ignition concern. And so the risk exists, the history shows it, and it's a high hazard. So regardless of how they've identified it, or this plan has identified it by those criteria, we know it's a high risk, and we know that we will address it.
Thank you. No, I appreciate that. We've had several conversations. I appreciate how you feel. I would love for us to be more low risk. So this is goals for me.
Yeah.
We maybe we're not there yet, but this is goals. Thank you.
Thank you.
Probably that's all for me, Chair. Thank you so much.
Sure. Anyone else? Should we take a recess, or do you guys think we can power it out? Power it out. Okay. If everyone feels like they've asked all their questions, I'll entertain a motion to recommend the adoption of Resolution 25-174.
So moved.
Moved by Member Uuhajan, second by Member Sugimura. The chair will entertain also a motion to substitute Resolution 25-174 with the proposed CD1 version attached to the amendment summary form distributed at today's meeting.
So moved.
It's been moved by Committee Vice Chair Nohe Uuhajan and second by Member Sugimura. The CD1 version does the following. It amends the resolution's title. It inserts a whereas clause referencing the County of Maui 2020 Hazard Mitigation Plan's expiration date and the deadline to adopt the County of Maui 2025 Hazard Mitigation Plan. It inserts a whereas clause acknowledging that the council has insufficient time to review and identify all technical corrections needed to the County of Maui 2025 Hazard Mitigation Plan. It incorporates non-substantive revisions for clarity, consistency, and style. So, as we stated during discussion, due to the plan's length and the deadline to adopt the 2025 update to the county's hazard mitigation plan, a disclaimer was inserted to note that there wasn't enough time to review the entire plan and correct all the mistakes made, but that it can be corrected in the meantime as we go along. Members, any discussion on the substitution? No? All those in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Chair, I see 8 ayes, 0 noes, 1 excused, member comma, motion passes. So you're back to the main motion as amended.
Thank you. Members, any further discussion? No? Okay. Oh, Member Rollins Fernandez, go ahead.
Just a disclaimer, I'm alone in my room, in my private residence.
Okay, that wasn't you that said we might want to jot down some notes? Oh, that was Member Sugimura. Okay, got it. All right, so I'm taking that as
Chair.
no further, yes. Go ahead,
I have
Member
a
Johnson.
discussion. Thank you. A quick search through the document noted that climate change mentioned 184 times in the document, and I get that it's a living document, you're gonna amend it. I know you guys struggle, it's tough to deal with the federal administration on situations like this, but just want to recognize Lanai is being very unique in this, in that we're so rural. I often say we're at the end of the train tracks, so if disasters do come our way, it's a bit of a heavier lift to reach those really, really rural areas. And I appreciate you guys' work, so I just wanted to add that for my discussion. Thank you, Chair.
Sure thing. Any further discussion from the members? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Chair, that's 8 ayes, 0 noes, 1 excused, member comma, motion passes.
Thank you. Did somebody call me? No? Did you have something additional, Member Rollins Fernandez?
No, just said aye.
Oh, okay. All right, so then this concludes today's Disaster Recovery, International Affairs, and Planning Committee meeting. Thank you very much, everyone. The time is now 2:45, so I'm giving everybody a whole hour and 45 minutes extra to your workday that you can do with as you see fit. This meeting is adjourned.